Hi there, I'm Andrew. I'm an architect, a photographer, and a web designer, and I started Best Cafe Designs. And along with starting the website, I also started a photography guide for smartphones, and I developed this in a collaboration with 40 different collaborators all over the world, and it was used to create photography on the site. Just a bit of a start. There's a download that you can get on my website, and it's all about smart photography, and it helps you to take everyday shots, helps you to take shots for construction or for daily life. And the starting point really is getting the zoom right. So on most smartphones or the latest ones, you need to go on a 0.5x zoom, and that helps you to get the full context and background. And it's used more for architectural photography. And you can get this on an iPhone 12 or an equivalent phone. The second thing to achieve good photography is understanding the rule of thirds. And what that means is that you try and get the point of interest into the right third, left third, top third, or lower third of the scene. And if the point of interest is right in the middle, it's kind of more static and it's not as interesting as a shot. And then the next thing is also getting the shot that is got leading lines which are more elevational, so not too far left or too far up or down. And the next slide will kind of explain that a little bit further. So in terms of perfecting perspective, on the left one, you can see that the vertical dotted yellow lines are converging, and that means that the focus is too much on the ground and not on the actual scene, and that leads to a non-pleasing type of image. So on the right, that shows a better example of an elevational shot where the leading lines are more horizontal and vertical, and that's showing a shot of a counter. This applies to also looking up, down, and also a little bit left and a little bit right. You can see that all those converging lines or those perspective lines that are in that orange overlay, they're all non-horizontal and non-vertical, and that all is a sign that it's not really set up properly. So it's important to really get your perspective right. When you correct your perspective, you can have lots of different shots. You can take shots on the top left of a counter, which is looking straight at it, or of a display, bottom left, or looking down a space, the bottom middle one, or looking out at a window and then seeing the columns and the beams are all in alignment. The right one is also a pretty handy shot to take, which is down a laneway, and that wouldn't be nearly as good if you're looking up or down or slightly sideways on that shot. You can see here that you can also have perspective when looking at a corner. So these are other types of shots where you have a 2-point perspective. A 2-point means that you're looking straight down a corner and your converging lines, they're going out as a splay to the sides. But that's okay as long as that middle line is vertical. And you can see the left one that's looking at a corner. In the middle one shot, that's looking at a display, and then in the right one, that's looking at a counter. You can see that it's vertical in the middle and then it's converging to the vanishing point on the left and the right. That's okay as a shot. The next thing to integrate into shots is adding people as props. So on the left one, you can see the layering of different people in the foreground, middle ground, and background, and they're all doing different types of things to add interest to the shot. So they're either focusing on their work, or they're mingling, or they're talking, or they're just sitting. And you can see there on the right hand side, if everyone is looking away from the camera, it's not as interesting. You kind of need to have varying poses to appeal to the shot. On the left hand side, that's a good example where you got people sitting on a bench in front of the display window, someone at the facade behind the glass, someone in front, and that all really adds to the layering and the interest in the shot. And the same in the top right hand, there's one at the window seat, there's one at the background, and they're all having nice little gestures. And something that I find is that I take a few different shots and then I retain the shot which has the best gesture. On the bottom right hand side, I'm looking down a laneway, and so that has different people in the foreground and different people going down the stairs. You can see on the left one, that's a good example where there's a layering, where there's a wall and a doorway. So there's a person beyond the door and then the person in front of the door. That's really nice to show a different scale and show the context of the space. And one of the things to be careful of with people is you don't want people to be too dominant in the shot and they really take up a dominant position in the composition, like in the top right one. The next thing to consider is the lighting and time of day. So in the left one, the sun was pretty low. It was early in the morning, and that was showing really long rays of sunlight, and that really sparkled against the curved glass and the other finishes around that shot. And it really added that sparkle and interest on that shot. On the right hand side, you can see the same thing as well. And in the top right hand one, that was looking at morning light and seeing how that bounced into the space. In the left one, that is a northern terrace, which in the southern hemisphere is how the sun comes in. It'd be the opposite in the northern hemisphere. And that is important because the sun is beaming right into that space, and it wouldn't be nearly as interesting if it was in shadow. On the right one, however, that's a different type of shot. That's one where there's diffuse light, and that doesn't really matter on the position of the sun, but with that diffuse light, that really gives you a nice even lighting in that whole scene. So there are the smartphone photography tips and techniques. Another general tip is that in low light scenarios, you want to hold the camera steady, and because what happens is that the camera slows down the shutter speed, and you don't want it to shake. And other thing is that a lot of our cameras have high dynamic range, which means that it kind of, if it's too dark, it tries to make the image not look too dark within the sensor. And so that's it. This is Capturing Architecture, Mastering Smartphone Photography. Hope you're able to go to the site and download it and use it in your smartphone photography. Thanks for watching.